Parenting is the hardest job, and there's not a close second. And parenting your kids who are athletes and performers provides a unique set of challenges. It requires you, moms and dads, to approach your relationships and interactions from a new perspective. I'm Nate Crandall, and along with my good friend and fellow certified high-performance coach, Steve Galley, we welcome you to the Stop Parenting, Start Coaching podcast. Together, Steve and I bring nearly 6 decades of wins, lessons, and plenty of scars. As coaches, teachers, and dads ourselves, we're here to help guide you through the shift from parenting to coaching. So, are you ready to level up and have some fun doing it? Let's go. In this episode, Steve and I are joined by a special guest you won't want to miss.
And the recruiting process is a whirlwind, confusing, pressure-packed, and full of noise. But what if your teen had a trusted guide who actually understands the game within the recruiting game? David Hitz is part of the founding team of Athlete Narrative, and he's on a mission to help parents and athletes cut through the recruiting noise, all the chaos, and take control of their story. If you've ever wondered how to navigate recruiting in the right way, this is the conversation you've been waiting for. And we would like to welcome David Hitz to the show, Coach Crandall.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So David, tell us a little bit about where Athlete Narrative came from and what you're up to.
Yeah, Athlete Narrative started from dads that wanted a better future for their kids. And originally we started in the telling your story space, right? Building your personal brand. And as we were doing that, we realized we were completing steps, 6, 7, and 8. But the real problem was 1 through 5. And that was actually helping get the kid recruited. And we realized it from just our experience as fathers. One of our co-founders came in one day just frustrated and said, I don't know what to do with this kid, right? He's not doing what he's supposed to be to get recruited. He's not reaching out. He's not doing emails and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I wish there was a better way, right? And we kind of had hit a spot where we were seeing the writing on the wall where we were, like I said, we were covering steps 6, 7, and 8, but really the problem was getting recruited. So everything just kind of came to a head. And we looked around the room and looked at each other and said, maybe we just build it, right? We know what's out there. We know the costly solutions that are out there. What if we build it? And we looked at our chassis, we'll call it, of our tech, and realized that we had the perfect thing ready to go. All we had to do was fine tune it, build it out a bit more, make it a little more robust, and go. And so it took about 4 or 5 months for that build out and for us to pivot. And then beginning of March, we rolled out the Recruiter, making it so easy for kids to reach out to coaches.
I love how that sounds, the Recruiter. Sounds like a superhero, part of the Avengers or something. We rolled out the Recruiter.
Yeah.
Hey,
the Recruiter.
I've looked at the Recruiter, and it makes me not long for the good old days.
Right.
I remember when Huddle came along and kids were able to start, doing some different clips, and I was able to start doing game film in a different way. But I'm the guy whose high school coach was a trailblazer by purchasing a beta video recorder and player. My senior year, we watched some game film on beta, the old beta tapes that got beat out by VHS.
Yeah.
So just looking at what's in the Recruiter, which we will get into later, you can tell parents how easy this is. It's just really cool that you really have simplified the process.
Yeah. And that was our goal, right? Make it easy to use, make it affordable, something that the kids are actually going to do something with. But for decades, it's been the story that you just said, right? You put together all of your information. And, back in the day, it was handwritten letters. And then once we had videotapes, it was doing videotapes, and you were very limited. And then it was DVDs, right? And then emails. And so it's get your emails out there, get in front of them. But every single person goes, okay, well, what do I say? And how do I get in front of them? Right? Where do I get their email? How do I actually showcase myself well? It's the same problem that we've had for decades, and we haven't had a great solution.
Not a cheap one anyway.
Not a cheap one, right? I mean, you get people like NCSA. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them, right? They're a huge player in the game. Very, very costly. And is one of the reasons that our founder came in and said, he literally said, I've already spent thousands of dollars and my kid hasn't gotten any further along. What do I do?
My son played college golf. I remember, like, you're talking about this, and I remember having those conversations with my son. Do we want to spend all this money to try to get you out there? Okay, we don't want to spend the money. You've got to put yourself out there. And so when you're talking about he's not doing anything that he needs to, he's not sending the emails, like, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
What's the big...
One of the things that is really important about this is if you're a 5-star recruit, people will find you.
Yes.
That's how it is, right? But for everybody else, you need something like this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe we should just talk about the reality check here, David. I know that, in fact, once upon a time, I was labeled by somebody as a dream killer. And that...
Okay. I've been labeled a dreamer, so let's go. So I was labeled a dream killer because I gave a talk to a parent meeting, and I actually used hard facts and statistics from the NCAA, which showed a pyramid of, the number of athletes that play Division I sports, and it was really detailed, and it just simply said that very, very few players are going to make it to Division I in all of the sports. And it's just the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So I agree with what you said. If you are a 5-star athlete, if you're ranked on some national thing, if ESPN is putting stars by your name and you're being invited to the elite of the elite camps, which are invitation only, and basically it's a way for colleges, tell me if I'm wrong, it's a way for colleges to get kids on their campus, and watch them and create a relationship and build rapport and evaluate them. If you're not in that group, how do you get noticed by, like, I played small college football. I know that school does not have the budget to go out and recruit. Yes.
So for somebody like me, this would have been extremely helpful.
Right. Well, and for me, I look back, I graduated high school 20 years ago, and obviously we didn't have anything like this. And for me, I grew up playing soccer, and it was a bit of a rebel. I did skateboarding as well. I still skateboard. And so I was kind of one of those that was like, I'm going to stick it to the man, right? And I didn't want to play the politics of soccer in club soccer. And so I played rec. My senior year, the same group of guys, we played together for fall, for winter indoor, and for spring outdoor, and we were undefeated. And I guarantee you, we could have spanked our high school team. But because something like this didn't exist, none of us went on to play college, even though we were talented enough. Right. And the thing that people get twisted is that they grow up thinking that playing in college equates to D1. And that's just not the case, right? Back to your statistics, not a lot of people are going to play D1. That's their dream. That doesn't mean that that's going to come through. And so you have to be able to have a way to find all of the other schools, right? Because so many schools that are lower divisions at junior college don't have the budget. They have no idea that there's a kid, back in my day, there's a kid in Fort Collins, Colorado, who's actually pretty good, right? They would have taken me, and then I could have gotten part of my schooling paid for. And if I showed up well and I continued to play well, Then I could have had an opportunity to play upper division, but none of that existed at all, right? And so that's the thing, is we created this to give kids hope that they can keep playing the sport they love if they put in the work, right? They still have to do something. They can't just wish it to be.
By the way, Nate, he loves our skateboarding crowd. We've talked about that before. He really enjoys them. Yeah. Do you not?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, you made a comment a few episodes ago about the skateboarders and talked about how you really
helped shape society.
That's
in a good
right.
way. Yeah.
Well, what I respect most about the skateboarding group is how hard they work at skill development. Like it's such a wonderful case study. It's like you just go to the skate park and you just watch these kids and they try and they fail and they try and they fail and they try and they fail and then they get it.
We learned from the very beginning how to fail.
Yeah.
And that's what's needed.
It's utter brilliance. Like if every other sport looked at that and said, we're going to approach our sport the exact same way, there would be so much more success, because failure is just looked at as part of the journey with skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like,
and
that's why they wear helmets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helmets,
Or
knee
should.
pads, they've got it. I mean, it's smart.
100%. I agree with you. Yeah. Skateboarders are awesome.
And I admire you. I think that's fabulous. I think that's part of why you get into the entrepreneurial space and you can build a business like this, because you don't look at it and be like, oh my gosh, it fails. You look at it and be like, okay, let's do this. And if something goes wrong, we're just going to figure it out.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that approach actually, I think, would help a ton with the recruiting process too. It's like, I think some kids don't reach out because they're worried, well, what if they say no? Okay, what if they say no?
Right. It's a numbers game. And that's why we built it the way that we did. Is you're not going to be able to send 5 emails and get 5 offers. That's not how it works. And so just like anything, it's all about the reps. You put in the reps and then you start seeing those results. You put in more and more reps of sending emails, you're going to start to see those results.
And you guys help people to do that, yes?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, let me fire a question at David, and then we'll see how this evolves, because we want parents to figure out how this process is going to work. And I will just tell you, I'm already on the athlete narrative train. I want our parents to go to the website and check out the recruiter, and you're going to be blown away by the price. Let's don't tell them the price yet, Dave.
Okay.
Because it's actually when I had talked to David earlier and I found out about this, I was kind of laughing based on the value that they are getting and the price they're paying. Because I, as a high school coach, and I've been out of the game for 10 years, David, but I still remember getting the emails, getting the calls from different recruiting agencies. And even 10 years ago, it was not uncommon for you to pay thousands of dollars to be seen. And, you sign up for this program and it's $39.95, and they make promises that these things are going to happen. And I mean, that's crazy for a lot of families to put out that kind of money for something they're not quite sure of.
Yeah. Well, and even for the families that they're confident in their kids, that their kids might be on a travel team, right? So they're already shelling out thousands of dollars for that. And so then you're going to ask them to shell out thousands more? Holy cow.
Yeah. Okay. So here, how early is too early?
That's a good question. From a personal branding standpoint, I would say that when the parent is comfortable building a social presence for the kid, that's the first part. For using the recruiter, we have some junior high school kids, but they are on nationally ranked teams. And so it is kind of building that portfolio and just starting to reach out to be on the radar. because coaches can't actually reach back to kids that young, right? And so it's just starting to get on the radar. By and large, sophomores is where we see a big influx. And so sophomores, obviously juniors and seniors hey, you've got to give it your all or you're not going to get anywhere with it, right? You're going to start paying for your own education and everything. So sophomores is typically in high school where we see that. Now, the other thing too, with the way that we've designed the recruiter is it is to help you play at the next level. And what I mean by that is going from high school to college, also from junior college to upper division.
Oh, okay.
So it has a feature in there to help like JUCO athletes get recruited as well.
Yeah. So we have a database of divisions from junior college to D1.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on the level that you're starting at, it's not necessarily that you have to tweak the feature or do something different. We've got the whole database for you to go through and sift and reach out.
Nice.
That is nice. Speaking of building your brand and social media, I shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming that you think the parents should be involved in this process. What do you encourage parents? What do you encourage parents to do as a kid starts to build his or her so-called brand on social media?
Yeah, I think it's important for parents to be involved with that because it's too easy for teenagers with developing brains to get sucked into a world that they're unfamiliar with. They're learning how to still interact with each other, right? And so as adults and as parents, it's important that we teach our kids what a proper interaction with other people looks like, how to treat people well, all those things, right? And how to do that socially, but also how to be strategic and intentional with what you're doing. And that's really, social media can be such a fantastic tool if you're using it intentionally. Otherwise, you just get sucked in and it can be a time waste. Right. So when it comes to brand building, right, it's all about taking that time to be intentional. And so if you and your parents are doing that together, it's going to go a lot further. And then you're on the same page when you start reaching out to colleges and doing those different things.
Do you get any feedback that this actually helps parents and their kids to have better, more productive conversations about social media?
Yeah, about social media and the whole fight that has existed forever of reaching out to colleges, right? I mean, one of the things that is important to understand is when you make people's lives easier, by and large, you've got a little bit less fighting in the home, right? And so if the parents, what's really cool too is one of the features that we've built in is during the sign up process, there's a spot where you put a parent's email. And so the parents actually get a weekly report of how many emails their athlete has sent out.
That's a great feature.
Because it should be a team effort, right? Yeah. But it's not the parents' job to recruit the kid, and it's not their job to be just writing them all the time. And so, I mean, as parents, we want the best for our kids, and so why not get them a tool that allows their life to be easier and to actually make progress where you can see that and track that, but not have to be the one that's just harping on them all the time.
Mm-hmm. So what does the process look like if somebody was to sign up? What would they start with?
Yeah. So where they start, obviously you sign up for a monthly subscription, right? Mm-hmm. From there, we have an intake form where they are going to self-select their sport and their gender, right? Are you playing in a male or a female league? And we have all the major sports. I think the only sport that we don't have fully in yet is we don't have water polo, and I don't think we have field hockey right now.
You don't have skateboarding?
I wish that was a sport you could play in college. And so, although, funny enough, Steve, we do have a feature that allows you to reach out to anybody. So if by chance you did want to use it for skateboarding, maybe it's to try and get sponsored instead of get recruited, sure, you could. But going back to the question, when you're signing up, you're selecting your sport, your gender, and then there's other pieces of information, right? Name, number, contact info, all that stuff. And then you can put your parents' email in. And so when you sign up, then you simply get walked through a 6-minute tutorial. A lot of these, and that was one of the things that we found is as we were looking at some of the other options in the space, there are very complex dashboards. There are very complex spreadsheets, and there's all sorts of information. And you have, when you add it up, 3 or 4 hours worth of tutorials.
Yeah.
What kid is going to sit down for that?
Right.
Right.
And if you understand it, sifting through all of those data tables and trying to figure out who to contact and emails and they're outdated.
And then you get further down and you go, oh, crap, which module was that? Right. How do I learn how to do this one again? And so 6 minutes, I walk you through the entire app.
Wow.
And if you don't want to do that, you can take it in chunks. Inside the app, we've got, a couple different videos where it's like 2 minutes. And so you sign up, you watch the tutorial, and then you download the Athlete Narrative app. Once you go inside the app, you build your radar page. Your radar page is the foundation for all of it. It is a combination of like a resume, highlight reel, your stats, who you are on the field, off the field. And it's bringing all this information together to build an online profile. And so that radar page and the information that's in there then is leveraged for sending out emails, right? So you knock out your radar page, it's done, looks fantastic. You like the colors you've chosen, you've got all your links and all that stuff, right? And so you go into the recruiter, and this is how simple it is. You choose the division, you choose the state, and then you choose the school. Once you go in there, all you have to do is choose the coach's email, and then you choose one of 5 different paths, right? You have, and I may not remember all of them right now, but do you want to have a call with the coach? Do you want to see about a visit? Would you like to just inform them about upcoming events? Do you want to just simply learn more, right? So you choose one of these paths. And then our proprietary tech builds 95% of the email for you, pulling information from your radar page, and then says, okay, are you sure you want to send this email? And you say, yes, I confirm I want to send this email. And here's where it gets really cool. We do what most companies aren't willing to do, and we push people off of our app, right? When you look at valuations of companies and all these things, right, it's all, people talk about time on app. Well, that doesn't make anybody's life easier. In fact, it's going to then create a portal that the coach has to log into and blah, blah, blah. And so, well, that's not going to work. So we said, well, why don't we do something different? So we take them off of our app and we put them into their own personal email box. And we then embed a simple tracking code so that tracking, when they send it off, when people open and they start clicking on different things within that email, we can track that. So the kid can see when a coach has clicked on their video or their radar page, or they've read an article that's in the body of that email, all the links and everything. And we've put together, again, the email that's ready to go. You fine tune it if you want to.
So David, sounds so much easier for parents and for athletes. You talked earlier about how everybody was going to steps 6, 7, and 8, which I don't even know what those were. You're helping them to focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I think that's probably what you've been talking about. Is that, those initial steps. But I'm being selfish. I'm thinking as a coach here, well, maybe we can explore for the high school coach, right? How this is so helpful.
Okay.
And for a college coach, how easy is this for a college coach?
Yeah, so let's just hit both. For a high school coach, you don't have to spend as much time hand-holding the kids. You help them understand what's important to put out there, how to present themselves, things like that when they are able to get in front of coaches, how to handle themselves when the scouts or people show up at tournaments and all that stuff, right? But as far as the traditional way of like networking and, hey, let me see who I know and let me put you in contact and all that sort of stuff, you don't have to do as much of that, right? Which makes it a lot easier to dream big. You are not limited anymore by just the people that you know and the people that they know. And so there's so many schools out there that you've probably never even heard of, but we can show you where they're at, right? And so that makes it a lot easier. From the coach, as on the college side, a couple things. One, and we know this because we've talked to a lot of coaches and recruiters. What do you want to see? And so they told us, well, I want a personal email from the kid. I don't want it to be too short, and I don't want it to be way too long, right? And so what we've done is we've kind of blended that. We've got a nice little intro of who you are, and then you've got stats and links to highlight videos and things like that, all just right there. And so it makes your life easier. The other thing too is because it is email from the athlete to email of the coach doesn't have to log into a separate portal or system or a separate account and keep track of all of that stuff. It's literally just their email.
So that's super easy for a college coach then. They don't even have to do it. Like it just lands in their inbox and they pull up their computer and boom, it's there.
Right. The other thing that's really cool is
that's terrific.
When you talk about some of the smaller colleges, there isn't the budget for going out and recruiting and doing those sorts of things, right? And so for us, this allows those coaches, I mean, it helps the kids to find them, right? But it opens up those opportunities because they know they're going to start getting more and more emails from kids all over the country because of our tool. And so that limited budget that they have for recruiting can be spared for what it's needed for most, because now these kids are going to start finding you more and more, right? Some of the responses that we've heard from kids is coaches reaching out and saying, hey, I love what I'm seeing. This is amazing. You know, one, yes, we would love to invite you to camp. Two, how in the world did you find me from, in this case, it was Boise, right? It was one of the local kids here. How did you find me from Boise, me being here in the middle of nowhere, you know, Arkansas, whatever it was? And I was like, well, there's an app for that, right?
Yeah.
As you're working with parents on this, what are some of the common mistakes that you see parents making before they find your service?
Oh, man. Some of the most common is obviously just one, starting to break down the relationship that you have with your kid, right? Because you are harping on them all the time. And unless you have experience in it, you're going to just both get really frustrated. If you haven't gone through the recruiting process yourself, and if you haven't gone through it lately, and as a parent, typically you haven't. And so you've got some outdated information and experiences. And so that's one of the things that we see far too often. Like we talked about earlier, you have parents that don't know what to do at all. And so they come across someone that's paid a lot of money for big market spend and fancy advertisements, right? And they say, oh, well, that's the advertisement that I've seen. It must be good. Might as well pay. And I don't see many other options. So take all of my money, right? And then they run into a wall and say, okay, well, this isn't going as where I thought it would go, or I hoped it would go with all of this money. Now what do I do? Right? They're left even more frustrated, and now they're out thousands of dollars. You know, or the other thing too is the parents write the emails, right? and you guys as coaches, you understand, you can see right through that, right? It's one thing for it to be an AI assisted email that the athlete is doing, because in today's world, sure, why not, right? Especially if you've got a language barrier, or maybe your grammar just isn't great. And so you want to come off as polished, you're going to try and get some help. And so we just take care of that for you. And so we make it so that the kid can have good grammar and have, you know, a good way of laying out who they are, but also the ability to fine tune that and personalize it even more. And all they have to do is adjust it 5 to 10%, right? And so now this isn't a parent email to a coach. This is truly the athlete to the coach.
That helps a lot. I bet college coaches get parent emails all the time.
Oh yeah, of course. Right. And I'm sure some of those, they forget to take out the fact that my son or my daughter, right? And so instead of being in that first person of the athlete, it's the parents like, oh, dang it. I forgot to take that one out. Right.
It's like as a teacher, when you're grading papers that kids write, you're like, this grammar is way too good for a high school
exactly.
junior.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Go ahead, Nate.
I was just going to ask, like, you talk about how like fast this changes. Like even a parent that played college sports 10, 15, 20 years ago, their kids are getting recruited in an incredibly different world now.
Mm-hmm.
How much has this changed over the last just couple of years with some of the changes for recruiting?
Yeah. Honestly, well, so that's actually part of the problem. Is in the past several decades, not a lot has changed, right? It's send your tape, send an email, right, is the most up to date, right? Get an email out there. And some of these bigger companies have someone that is supposed to help you through the process. They help you identify schools, and then they say, okay, now I'm going to help you write this email. But it's still, that's not very different than having your guidance counselor, right, from 15 years ago, or your coach that's willing to put in the extra time. And so that was one of the things that we ran into is the whole industry is a bit dated and it needed a better solution. But we couldn't find it. So we said, well, let's just build it.
That's actually really cool. So you guys have kind of gotten in on this. It sounds like you've got a way more adaptable and flexible platform that's going to allow kids and parents to approach the new frontier of recruiting in a unique way.
Yeah. Well, and we are very privileged, we'll call it, to have on our team, so our CTO played through college, and then he played a few years in the NFL, and he also coaches now to one of the local schools. And so we have the benefit of seeing for him what that experience was like and what he has been like for the past several years as he's been coaching, right? And then one of our other co-founders, he was a dual sport athlete, and then our other founder working with their kids. So we've all seen different sides of the whole, what recruiting is and what it could be. That is where we went is, well, what could it be? Because where it's at right now is not great.
I love the vision in that. That's really cool. If somebody wanted to get started, like a parent listens to this episode, they're like, dude, I'm in. Where would they go to find you guys?
Yeah, just our website. It's pretty simple to sign up. Obviously, I'll get you guys a link that make it easy to follow that. And here's the thing that we haven't talked about yet is it's $20 a month.
That's thousands of dollars.
I want to bring some. Hey, I want to bring something up. It's going to make me sound like I'm on their sales team, and I'm really not. But this is what I've noticed about subscriptions, and some subscriptions nowadays are you have to pay a full year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Some allow you to pay a full year, but some actually require that you pay a full year. And I've often thought, with no refunds available, I've often thought, if they're making me pay for a full year and I can't get a refund, what if I'm 3 months in and it's like, this is not quite what I expected it to be?
Yeah. Or 3 weeks in.
Yeah. So you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, David. I think I'm right because I've done some research. This is $20 a month and cancel anytime.
That's it. Yes.
That's okay. Yeah. So this means that you guys have a lot of confidence in your product. This means that the product is good. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking of a 2-year process of recruiting. Like let's say I'm a little bit late to the game, my junior year, much of my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that maybe I'm not a Division I player, but I end up finding that Arkansas Polytechnical Western Institute that you were referring to earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And I get a chance to continue playing the sport that I grew up loving, I'm going to spend way, way less money as a parent than if I signed up for the $4,500 recruiting package. You got to pay it all up front, and here we go on this ride.
Yeah, and that was, for us, that was part of it, right? Is too many kids are limited to be able to play at the next level because their family can't afford it. But they can afford Netflix. They can afford, some of these other subscriptions. And so we said, well, we need to price it something closer to that then, because it's got to be affordable. There's so many gifted and talented athletes out there that could be a huge contributor to these schools all across the country. And they just have no idea how to do it. And then you have these big players that they just can't afford it. And so what's crazy is we looked at it and we said, well, if someone was on our app for their entire high school career, they're still going to spend a lot less than they would have if they gave it a one-time chance with some of these other companies. And that was, as we looked at all that, it was simply, this has to be affordable because there's too many people that need a chance and don't know where to go. They need hope again. And one of the things that, I've said hope a couple times, and that really is at the heart of what we're doing. And so much so that our AI assistant within the app itself, we've named her Hope. And she is there to,
I love that.
She has all sorts of NCAA regulations. She's tied to that knowledge base. And so anything that is college athletics, recruiting, you can ask about NIL stuff as well, things like that. That's what Hope is there for, to help guide you through that journey. What Hope is also there for is to put guardrails on where you're going. What I mean by that is, in the world of AI, Hope is a learning mod. Like, she is just learning. It is not a gateway to the open internet. And so that's a safety feature that the parents can kind of sleep peacefully knowing if their kid is on our app and they're doing some research of, hey, how do I do this? How do I that? Or, hey, Hope, look at my radar page. Do I qualify for D3? Do I qualify to be able to play at this school with my grades, with where I'm at? And Hope could literally look at your radar page and say, you're not quite there, right? This is what I would recommend. And so parents can know that as their kid is doing that research, their kid is not getting into some trouble on the internet because we've put those guardrails on.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's terrific.
That is amazing. So we're going to wrap up here. I want to ask David, kind of throw you on the spot here. Do you have a favorite success story, or you could actually tell as many as you want, but do you have a favorite success story that our parents could relate to out there that would inspire them, give them a little hope? Which, by the way, I love the naming of the AI assistant. Nate and I,
yeah,
we've done the same in our, we won't talk about that, but we've done the same. She has a name. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So first, I'll say that I have happily canceled a lot of subscriptions because kids have a place they're going to play, right? For us, that is a success story. We don't care that they're not going to stay on or whatever. They send me an email, hey, can you cancel my subscription? I've committed, right? Yes, happy to do it. One of the coolest ones for us is actually one of our founders' kid. One of the reasons that we started all of this. He is a very gifted soccer player and maybe didn't see the full potential in himself sometimes. And it was your typical situation of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Where do I go? This other program that my club provides to me that's included in my club dues isn't helping me. And so they went and they spent the couple $1,000s for NCSA, and that didn't work. And so our founder's kid was one of our first testers once it was ready, because he was one of the reasons that we started pushing this forward so much. and really revisited what we're doing. And so he starts sending out emails, Super Bowl's going, and he's sitting there just firing off emails after email. And soon enough, he's got 150 emails out there. And then a few weeks go by, and it's a Thursday evening, and our coworker shoots us all a text, and he goes, he used some colorful language and said, "You're not gonna, like, this works. Holy cow, this works." And then he said, "My son has 12 replies from coaches. 5 of them were camp invites. There were a couple that were, hey, we want to see more, send us information. And there were a few that were your canned, hey, we'll keep in touch." Right. And then fast forward a few more weeks, and he's got 6 or 7 more, and then a few more weeks. And so I'm happy to report that he has, I think, 4 camps lined up over the next month and a half. The first one is on Friday this week. And then he's going to a camp in Arizona. He's, Washington and Arizona and Colorado for these different camps. And these are invite only types of camps, right? It isn't like a, hey, just sign up and we'll see how it goes type of a thing, right? This is, we want to invite you. This is a personal invite camp. And so there are 4 or 5 schools that are having very serious conversations with him about playing for them. And some of them are some of the best education that you get in this area in the Mountain West. And so we're really excited and proud of what we've done, and that it is helping people within our own families.
That gives me hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any people in their late 50s that are using Athlete Narrative that may still have eligibility left?
We can talk after this, Steve, and see what we can do for you.
Steve's looking to start that next career.
Yeah. I do have a soccer skateboard question for you, though.
Go for it.
You've done both. So
I do both.
You do both. I'm pretty confident that you have probably experienced a skateboard injury.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm pretty confident that when that happened, it was real life for everybody to see. But I've got to know, David, have you ever faked a soccer injury on the pitch?
What's funny is that happens a lot. Like, soccer players are known for that, right? But what's funny is, because I was a skateboarder, the stuff that happened on the field didn't hurt as much, right? I got shin guards on. When I'm skateboarding, it is direct board to the shin, and you are jumping because it hurts so bad, right? I have a divot in one of my shins from one of those. And so I'm happy to report that I don't recall being much of a faker on the field. Yeah,
good.
I'm sure I did maybe a little bit, but by and large, skateboarding made me tough enough to not.
The skateboarder in you would not allow you to be one of those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't be a poser, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, David, tell us where parents need to go.
athletenarrative.com. We are also on social media, predominantly Instagram. And so you can always get a hold of us there if you have questions. You can always send an email to info@athletenarrative.com. And I keep an eye on that inbox. And so as the vice president of operations, I oversee a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And so if people reach out to us, more than likely they'll probably get me.
Oh, that's good. I think that's a good thing.
So parents, when you reach out, lead with your skateboarding stories.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Nate, do you have anything to say to David?
Thank you so much. This is so cool to be able to bring to the parents and the athletes that listen to this podcast, because there's so many kids that don't even realize the opportunity that they have. They just think these schools and that's it.
Yeah.
And there's so much more opportunity. And I just love, admire, and respect that you guys are helping so many more kids to feel like they've got a chance to keep doing what they love doing. So keep doing the great work. It's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us.
No, thank you guys.
Nate Crandall and Steve Gallen would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're experiencing and learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, please like, comment, and or leave a glowing review of this episode and the show. And to further help Nate and Steve expand their reach and impact thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please share the show and subscribe to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel on YouTube. And if you want to explore further to see what Nate and Steve are creating to help parents of athletes and performers everywhere, please visit their website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you will find a growing number of tools and resources to help you elevate your parenting. Thanks again for tuning in. Now go create a magical relationship with your athlete or performer.